Get Advisor Fit with Olivia Luper, a series of interviews with financial consultants and industry experts helping financial advisors strategize, market, and grow their business using core fitness values and analogies. Do something today that your future self will thank you for with Get Advisor Fit. Here's your host, Olivia Luper.
Hey guys, welcome back to Get Advisor Fit, where we encourage you to lift heavy, invest often, and market your ass off. Today, we're going to be talking about how to increase visibility and credibility using press releases. I know that all of you out there are thinking, wow, how do I get published in the media? I know that this is something that can bring great benefits to myself and my business, but I've never really known how to do it. What should I write about? All of these questions, we're going to get into these today because I am joined by Mickie Kennedy, who is the founder and president of eReleases, the small business leader for press release distribution, now celebrating 24 years in business. Mickie is an expert at helping small businesses increase their visibility and credibility, and he's here today to help you, financial advisors. We're going to go over how to use numbers to create irresistible press releases the media loves, how to audit your industry to figure out blind spot opportunities, and strategies for crafting press releases that work. So, Mickie, thank you for joining me. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm going to be completely transparent, folks. Mickie and I were connected through one of the podcasting services where they connect guests with podcast hosts or hosts with guests. Mickie says he's been doing it for a few years. So if you do have a podcast, this might be something that you want to look into. But it's a great way to connect with cool people like Mickie, who I would have otherwise maybe not met. So, Mickie, tell us a little bit about eReleases, how it got started, how you got into this industry. I was personally perusing the website this morning, and as someone who has submitted press releases on behalf of myself and others, I was very impressed with the website, and particularly in the fact that you work as one of the only true Newswire affiliates with PR Newswire. Is that correct?
Correct. So most of the times when people are resellers of PR Newswire, they're offering something that's like, 10, 15% discount from the Wire's fee. And we're a little bit different. The Newswire approached us more than 10 years ago and said they wanted to work with you. And they liked that we served small businesses. But I pointed out that my customers couldn't afford like $1,200 to $1,500 for a national press release. And they tried to get me to just, choose a state distribution for each person. And I'm like, it really is a national opportunity. A lot of my customers are startups and people who are doing business nationally. And so finally, we were able to work out a deal that all of our releases go out nationally over the wire. And rather than paying, $1,200 to $1,600 for a 600-word press release, it's, under $500 on average. So it's quite a really good value. And we're the only company that has that relationship because we really only service small businesses and individuals and entrepreneurs and startups.
I love that. One of my good friends, Nora, says small businesses deserve to grow too. And that's really what eReleases has done, is made something that may have been out of budget before and made it more attainable for advisors who want to take advantage of this, but might necessarily don't want to pay $1,200 to $1,500 for a national release. And I've been there. Or, what's the other alternative is trying, to get in good graces and make relationship with journalists, which can be very difficult and take a very long time. So you provide a great solution to both of those options.
Yeah, definitely.
So now we know a little bit about your business and how it is different than other press release companies. Why don't we go over some of the benefits of using press releases to promote your business and yourself as an advisor?
Right. I mean, some of the benefits are visibility and credibility. When you get published, it sends a signal to people that you're like a bona fide business. You've been vetted. It's almost like third-party corroboration or social proof when a journalist writes about you. I've had some people call it an implied endorsement almost. So it's a really great way to build authority. Brand building is another thing, getting your name out there, making yourself really relevant within the industry. There is the potential for getting picked up in local newspapers, which could potentially drive customers to you, as well as allow you to stand out from everyone else in your marketplace. There's also SEO benefits of getting links to your website from media places. Just engaging existing clients. There's always people who are like, am I with the right company or provider? And should I be shopping around? And by seeing you out there and getting attention, they'll feel very comfortable that they're with the right person. Also, potential clients. Everyone has a prospector list, and if you share these successes to your prospects, they can get the warm and fuzzies just like other people when they read this article about you. And people's blinders do not go up when they read an article like they do with an ad. So it really is a way to really stand out, acting almost like a referral for your business. Not to mention, networking opportunities and, just providing education and content to the marketplace.
Implied endorsement is probably the best way that I've ever heard it put. I mean, that was a whole laundry list of benefits that are amazing. But I think at least in our industry where, finance is a sensitive subject and there have been bad actors in the past who give financial services a bad name. So for a lot of my advisors, that implied endorsement piece is sort of critical because it shows, okay, well, US News and World or whoever, wherever you're published, it's almost like an implied endorsement, right? They're not saying, hey, go out and hire this guy. We know he's great, but it's almost as if, right? And like you said, it gives people the warm and fuzzies. And something that I get questions about a lot is like, when we talk about, email marketing and stuff like that. Well, what lists do I send this information to? And just as a side note, if you are using this strategy and you're getting published in these third party spots, you're going to want to share it with everyone, current clients and prospects alike, because like you said, and you put it very, very nicely, people, they'll see things in the media or they hear something from their friends and doubts creep in. And am I really with the right person? Especially maybe if the relationship is on the newer side, and seeing those implied endorsements in the marketplace really make them feel like, okay, I made a good decision. I made a good choice. And those are things that, make them feel good and sort of reinforce that relationship. So that's a very
Absolutely.
good point there. So I really love digging into like success stories. And I know that this is something that you mentioned that you'll be able to share with us. So before we get into the nitty gritty of sort of, how to blind spot your opportunities in your industry and create the press releases, would you mind giving us a couple examples of some success stories you've had with business owners who started using this strategy with you?
Sure. So, just to sort of give you an example of almost impossible type of industry and client, we worked with a local carpet company in New Jersey, and they did a 1 year campaign with us. And I advised them not to because I just didn't think it was going to work. But over a few months, we figured out something that would work. And I think on month 6, we were able to finally figure out something that would work for them. And they got a lot of media attention. And over the rest of the year, they got a total of over 30 articles written about them. And some of them included floor trade publications, local newspaper, New Jersey Magazine. And they put them together in what they called a brag book. And whenever they would sit down with the customer and give them a quote, they would share their successes and go through the book just saying, hey, we've been picked up by Floor Trade Weekly, these publications, and the local newspaper and New Jersey Magazine. And they started converting 17% more of these quotes that they would give out
Wow.
just by having that brag book. And so that goes a long ways. I had one client, Bill Seagraves of Catch Fire Funding, who on his first press release got an article in Financial Advisor magazine. And for him, he's like, this is the Bible. This is the big one. And he was really impressed and, really did well. And it's been a huge credibility to him by being able to have that, screenshots of that he can put on his website,
Yes.
sharing the link after it got posted with his clients and leads. And it really is sends a huge signal that, you are someone that people can feel comfortable about doing business with. And I think that's one of the real, great successes about getting out there. I do have a case studies section on our website where we have a lot of testimonials as well as success stories. During the pandemic, we did a release for the Dining Bond Initiative, which was a very short-lived initiative to try to help restaurants that were closed during the pandemic. We stopped counting the number of articles at 150. There was just
Yeah.
so many newspapers that picked
Wow.
it up. Large ones like Washington Post and Wall Street Journal, but also like a lot of small community newspapers across the U.S. because it was an initiative meant to help any restaurant that was closed during the pandemic. And it was positive news at a time when there was so much negative news, which is why I think it did well and did so well. But it just shows the leverage opportunity that's out there, that by having a meaningful message and a little bit of newsworthiness, you can really go far and, create huge buzz for you. In their case, a $400 press release did over $10 million in revenue to help restaurants that
Wow.
were closed during the pandemic.
See, look at that. And you could grow your business and do something good for the community at large as well. Right?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
it was, like you said, it was sort of designed to be applicable to all restaurants that were struggling in that time period. So, one thing I wanted to step back for 1 second, because those are some pretty incredible stories, but we're maybe using some verbiage that the financial advisors might not understand in how the process works. Like, for example, we're saying got picked up by or written about. So maybe if we went over the process really quickly, that would be super helpful.
Right. So eReleases is a press release distribution platform. We take a press release that's usually written in the third person, might have a first person quote in it, and it can be written by you, or we offer a writing service. But press releases aren't that difficult to write. The more important thing is what you're writing about, the strategy behind it, what you've decided you want to get out there. And basically, we send it out through email and over the wire. Like I said, it's through PR Newswire nationally. It could also have local saturation to your local market, which is really important if your business is predominantly in one state or one metropolitan area. And by getting it out there, you'll be some syndication that happens, and that's just your press release on a few websites like Yahoo Finance and maybe 100 plus other sites. That's not really the important thing. What we're really looking for is a journalist to take that press release and then they write an article about you, and that's what we call it earned media. Or when I say pickup, that's true pickup. There are services that specialize in syndication. I don't recommend it because the syndication is a distraction. They're usually on locations on a website that aren't very prevalent, don't get a lot of traffic. But if you do get that organic article written by a journalist, it generally shows up with all their other articles. And that's where you can get really a lot of traffic and a lot of eyeballs looking at you and your business. For a lot of people, it might be her local market, your local newspaper, your local business magazine or newspaper, if you're lucky enough to have one. Could be community papers. There's just a lot of opportunities to get out there, and not to discount radio and TV as well as influencers. There are bloggers and people on TikTok and all these other new social media platforms that are considered sources by the Newswire, and they do have access to the press releases. The great thing about newswires is they're one place where journalists can log in and look at their industry feed and really target it using specific keywords to capture the releases that they want in their industry and exclude the ones that really, isn't something that they're interested in. And so it is a huge leverage opportunity, and it is a great way to get out there and get some attention.
So in that case, you definitely want to make sure that your topic is newsworthy, right? Because if they're logging into this database where they can see, however many hundreds or thousands of submissions in finance, you want to make sure that your topic stands out. I know that a lot of us probably think of or press releases in terms of like something is changing organizationally. Maybe we've made a new hire, or we're expanding, or we've added a new, great, amazing service that benefits the community in some way. How do you help your clients come up with good topics to submit, or is it mostly that they're coming to you with topics already picked out? Is that something that you help with on the strategy side?
Right. So the strategy
You're
side
laughing,
is,
so this must be a tough question.
yeah, the strategy thing is the whole thing that I do. I focus on strategy. I have a free masterclass that's just about an audit of press release strategies that work, and it's at eReleases.com/plan PLAN. It's anybody's welcome to go there. It's less than an hour video masterclass that'll walk you through the types of releases that are meaningful, the ones you should be focusing on. Some of them include like a survey in your industry. It's a great way to stand out if you're in a local market. Getting a survey in your community. Maybe aligning yourself with the Chamber of Congress, local chamber, not Chamber of Congress, but other little organizations and associations that might have an audience out there that you could survey could
Yeah, the
really be a
Chamber of
great.
Commerce. Yeah.
Yeah, so it could be a great place to start and get some people to click on a link, Google Forms or SurveyMonkey. I like 16 questions. I like to
Mhm.
break it out into 4 pages, 4 questions per page. That way, if someone leaves halfway, you've still got half of their responses, rather than making them
Hey,
go all the way down and hit submit and maybe leaving before they get to
they
question
do any.
16.
That's
And
very good
you're going
strategy.
to look at the responses and figure out what were the big 2 surprises. So you really want to ask questions that are relevant and timely. The types of questions that if you ask in 6 months, you're going to get completely different responses because things are changing in your industry. Could be the economic lookout. What's the forecast going forward? Are you spending less on marketing or planning on curtailing big purchases in your family and life? All those could really be useful information in your community. And once you get some responses and you figure out what the 2 aha moments are from the survey and focus on them in the press release, you're going to add an amazing quote that can't be easily paraphrased. Like, you're going to say something very powerful or concise or just very analytical and to the point, because a great quote can really excite a journalist and get them to really think about, yeah, I want to do an article around this. So many quotes are thought as afterthoughts by people. They just sort of tack them on. They look like they've been written by committee, but an amazing quote can really make you stand out and make a journalist want to do a story about you. So anything like that could really be very strategic. There are other things like yeah, researching your industry for blind spots or gaps. And what I mean by that is there are things in your market that you're wanting to target that they just haven't been talking about in a while or at all.
Oh,
We had a local carpet company that we got huge success with, and it was by identifying the blind spot that the trade publications and places don't talk about marketing for local carpet companies, and their biggest enemy is the big box home improvement stores. So taking this David versus Goliath approach and talking about something that the industry wasn't talking about, we were saying, is this something the industry might be receptive to? Not only were they receptive to it, we continued to milk that and go from like 12 publications that picked us up initially to getting over a 1 year period more than 30 places. And so there are ways to sort of differentiate yourself and try to make you stand out as an expert. And you really should try to be comfortable being an expert in your community. Providing useful information if there's legislation coming out, and you can break it down for people about how this would affect your personal finance. That's great content that you could share with local papers. And don't discount small community papers, even free papers that are weekly in a community that might just be a few neighborhoods, can be a really great way to sort of get out there and share your expertise. And you don't need to pay a press release service for a lot of this local stuff. It's just a matter of reaching out to them and asking, who's in charge of a certain type of column, or who's in charge of the content or writes about things in your industry, and just sending them an email asking for their email address. These places are approachable and they are willing to share their email address because they're members of the community. So don't discount the local market and what you can do to sort of get out there and brand yourself an expert, sharing opinions about trending events, providing educational content, It really is a great way to stand out. I know that there are, in community papers that I have, there's a chiropractor who just does a column once a month. And you could certainly go out there and establish your own column and get out there and get that sort of credibility that comes from being recognized in a paper.
Yeah, I actually just hearing you talk about it reminded me of an email I got from one of my advisor clients. In the past week, they help special needs families with planning for special needs children, and so I guess there was some new legislation that passed regarding ABLE accounts, which are accounts that you set up on behalf of your minor, I think minor, maybe adult too, children who have disabilities. And that, I think, might be one of those situations where you can say, hey, per this new legislation, here's a new opportunity, and our business offers, X, Y, and Z way that we help you set these up or whatever. Do you
Right.
think that?
Yeah, that could be a really great way. I see, for example, parenting newspapers that are free at grocery stores. I've seen them in almost every market. And that could be a great place for you to sort of talk about this legislation and have a column that's pre-written and send it to them. And to them, it's free content. And it
Yeah.
allows you to be branded and really stand out in your community.
That's a great idea, the parenting angle for sure. I mean, I know that it was probably a very short bridge for your mind to make because you do this all day long. But that part didn't even cross my mind. I'm sitting here saying parents of disabled children. It didn't even cross my mind to hit like parenting magazines or like
Yeah,
community
as well as the community
publications.
papers and,
Yeah.
and
They
places
always
like
make
that.
yeah, they'll have those things in the doctor's offices or whatever, like a local events for, kids on the summertime or whatever, things like that that you might be able to um, pop in, or I'm sure the possibilities are endless. So going back just a second, so we were talking about the survey, and then we're also talking about identifying blind spots within your industry. Is the survey a means to that end? The survey a good way to identify the blind spots, or are these two separate
Not
ideas?
really. I usually
Okay.
see them as different. The blind spots is usually the best exercise for generating that is talking with coworkers as well as even colleagues at other businesses at conferences and stuff. What are the things
Yeah.
that in private you're just like, are you finding that people are slow paying now? What used to be net 30 is turning into net 90 with apologies. And they're like, yeah, I have. And that could really be a signal that there's a downturn in your market coming. And so I find that gossip and rumor is probably the industry chatter that's not in print is usually the best places to get the industry blind spots and gaps. But sometimes just brainstorming, like I did with that carpet company, I felt terrible taking their money for 5 months, and we got no pickup. And then the next 7 releases that we did were just home run after home run, sort of talking about the marketing angle.
Yeah, that's like 3 inches away from gold, right? You never know. And even
Right.
you, the expert, you were skeptical, but you
Right.
pulled through.
Right. It took some brainstorming and being inventive. And it really just shows that, if a local carpet company that's just like any local carpet company in a community can go out there and grab some attention and notoriety, it's available to anyone. And
Yeah,
I know that a lot of people have the imposter syndrome. I don't matter. I'm too small for the media to pay attention to, but the media loves small.
yes,
Journalists like to be seen as curators. They don't like profiling the big, well-funded firms.
right.
They would much rather put the spotlight on a small unknown because they know that they get more accolades when people encounter a discovery rather than, oh yeah, everybody knows that business. They've been around for 50 years and they're giant. So
Yeah.
that's really one of the things that you need to think about because being small and relatively unknown is an advantage.
I like that. I like that a lot. And you know what it reminds me of is um I had a friend in my industry, his name's Derek Kinney, and he was on my podcast last year, and he wrote a book called Good Money Revolution. And inside it, he says one of the things that he recommends for um like kind of help, his whole thing is money is not bad. It's not, inherently bad. You can do a lot of good in the world with your money. So, the idea is help you make more money to do more good in the world. And one of the things that he identifies in his book is this generosity purpose thing, where he encourages people to sort of pick a almost, I don't want to say a charity, like sponsorship opportunity or scholarship opportunity or some kind of opportunity within the community where they you sponsor some meaningful event or I'm trying to think what it was. I think this one of the examples he gave me was that the advisor donated a certain amount of money to a student who won, maybe it was like the stock market event, the ongoing stock market club thing at his school, and that the person who won at the end of the year would get the scholarship money or whatever. And that those types of things, you could kind of put them together, right? So you could find something in your community to do that helps you stand out and aligns with something that's important to you. Then make sure that you get the word out there by either doing a press release or making some connections in your community with local publications who would spotlight you.
Right. And, if the local schools don't have the stock market program, talk to the ones that do in other communities and find out how it works, and go to your local school and say, you should really do this. And I'd love to sponsor it. And, the stuff that goes home with parents and the kids talk about, because that is something that excites people, competitiveness
Yeah.
can really make you stand out and, reach the attention of a lot of families in your community.
Yeah, see this, somebody needs to get on this stat. And if you need help, we're here to help you. But these are great ideas, guys. I mean, I'm serious. We're really coming up with some good stuff here. Um, so all right, so now we've identified the benefits. We got into some case studies of people who have done this, with you remarkably well and seen some, higher close rates on their sales. And you said the $400 press release generated like 10 million in revenue or
Over
something.
$10 million in
Yeah.
revenue.
Wow, talk about return on investment. That's like
Right.
in the millions of
Right.
percents. You guys know I hate math, so you figure that out on your own, but it's huge. So I want to get a little bit before our time is up into the sort of more tactical information about press releases. So, what are some key strategies or tips for crafting press releases that will effectively help you, you know, achieve the goals of credibility and visibility?
Right. So I think it's just being strategic. Sometimes it can be your story. If you pay attention to Shark Tank on TV, almost all the people that come on there talk about who they are, how they came into the business, or thought of the product. Sometimes it's an obstacle that was overcome. Could be sharing a vulnerability. Could be the hero journey. There's a reason that a lot of these things are stories, because people love human interest. And when you're trying to get media attention, especially local media attention, don't discount your story. What is it, that made challenged you and made you go into being an advisor? What is it that you love about your job? What are some of the amazing things you've seen because of people coming to you early and getting their life in order? Those are all these types of things that can create warm and fuzzies and can be a really important part of a press release. And I would say that you can also have a hook, but
Yeah.
also include this other stuff, because it rounds out the entire press release and gives you, a much more definable story arc in a potential article that a journalist wants to do. Journalists are storytellers, and
Yeah.
anything that you can do to put yourself out there in a way that makes it easy for them to build a story makes it more likely that they'll want to work with you. We deal with a lot of people who have a new service, or they've just, grand opening, and what they, share is the details. This is where we're located, this is our hours. But what they didn't share is why they chose this business, even if it's a franchise. Why did you choose to do this in your community? What is it about you? What's your past? And, is this a pivot in your life? You were recently divorced and in charge of 2 children, and you just realized that you needed to set your own hours and be able to work with your own skill set or something like that. So don't be afraid of sharing that. It is being vulnerable, but it also really makes you humanized. It's the personal story that we all sort of relate to. So don't discount that. And I think that, anything that you do in your community, helping others, are opportunities for you to share that with the media. Maybe not a bona fide press release, but maybe just getting some snapshots of something you're doing to help out a charitable organization and just sharing it with your local papers and sending them an email with a couple of sentences saying, hey, this is something that we do annually and we just did this, and I wanted to share the pictures with you, and if you wanted to talk with me and maybe get some quotes for a story, I'd love that. And so the newspapers in your local market love that because it's going to shine a light on the charity as well as you. So it's basically a win-win situation.
Yes, and in case you all are wondering on what grounds Sir Mickie here has to talk about storytelling, he does in fact have an MFA, I believe, correct?
Yes, in
Which is a
creative
Master
writing.
of Fine Arts degree. So Mickie knows storytelling and he
Right.
understands the importance of talking about these origin stories, your why story, your pain impact value that you have on your clients or on your community if you're doing something like one of these charitable sort of engagements that we're talking about. So this advisors as well, if you've heard my podcast or followed me anywhere, you know that we're very big on personalizing your marketing. This is just yet another example of that. When Mickie started giving the example of, grand opening, here's where we are, this is who this is what we're going to have, blah, blah, blah. Very boring, tactical. Where are the touchy feelies? Where's that spark? And the spark is going to be in those details that Mickie's just shared with us. Why did you become an advisor? Why did you choose to do this charitable event? Why did you open your business in the first place? What about your target audience, helping your target audience makes you excited about coming to work every day? And these are the types of things that will help get people engaged. Like Mickie said about in life, I forget the words you used, but life interest, or you know what I'm talking about, but I forget how you said it.
Right. The personal story, the human interest story,
Human
the
interest,
angle.
that's what it is. Human interest. People have an interest in other human beings and what they're doing, and especially if it's people who align with what you're doing, then they're going to be and curious about finding out if there's other ways to find alignment with you, and that might be through your financial services that you offer. So seriously, getting out of your comfort zone, being a little bit vulnerable, sharing some personal information can make all of the difference when you're putting yourself out there in these sorts of situations. So I'm really glad that Mickie was able to bring that to light in this conversation as well. So one more question I have before we go, and this we did touch on it already, but many small businesses and startups operate on limited budgets. So how can they maximize the impact of their press releases?
Right.
Tangentially related is something that I wanted to ask earlier, which was length, right? So I know that traditionally, if you go through like Cision or something like that, you pay for like the length of the wire or the length of the press release, and then the price increases per scope of distribution, local, national, this many, whatever. So on that, about the limited budgets and maximizing the impact of the press release, would you also mind touching on that piece, which is sort of the
Sure.
length and good practice?
Right. So I think that when it comes to having a limited budget, you want to be strategic with your money as well as strategic with your press releases. So if you have something that you feel will really go far and wide and you're open to far and wide media coverage, then certainly pay to go over a service. That being said, if it's something that you feel you really just want the local market and you don't feel it's earth shattering, I would say don't spend it to go through a service like eReleases, but instead build your own Rolodex of local media. If you think about it, there's probably less than 12 people in your local market that would write about you. And I'm even including the free community papers. There's the newspaper. Find out who at the newspaper covers your industry and get their email address. It's as easy as asking. They will give it to you. I haven't been encountered people who are stonewalled to say, "Oh, I'm a local member of the media, but I don't want to talk to the local community."
The
That's
local
kind of
community.
awkward.
Well,
But
wait, hold on. Wait, where do we find them?
you just look in the local newspaper and say,
Oh, just go to like the website and
who
find the
generally
journalist?
writes about my industry. Call and
Oh,
ask for that person's email address. Make an
okay.
introduction by email. You don't have to have a press release. You can just have a pitch. Few
Okay.
sentences, maybe a prepared quote. A great quote is, like I said, excites journalists. So I do like putting that quote in there and just emailing them and building your Rolodex of other people. If you're lucky enough to have a business magazine or business newspaper, who generally covers your industry there? Get their email address and reach out to them. Introduce yourself. As you have ideas, send them a pitch and put a great quote in there. And you will realize that over time, this is something you can do. I mean, having a relationship with under 12 people in your market is very attainable for anyone to do. And you don't have to do it weekly or monthly. Quarterly, set quarterly. I'm going to try to reach out to everybody at least once a quarter. And what you'll find is after a while, even when they don't pick up a story from an idea that you did, they'll reach out to you and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm working on this different story. I needed to plug in a local business and I just thought of you. Could you give me some thoughts about this subject?" And there you are. You're now an expert that they lean to and go to because you've done the work to establish a relationship. And I think that for a lot of providers, in local markets, don't discount the local media as a great way to build a relationship and sort of stand out. You may not make much success in a year, but I guarantee if you do it quarterly, reaching out to under a dozen people, within 2 or 3 years, you're going to be getting 3 or 4 articles a year easily. And you'll find that after a while, you'll get 3 or 4 articles without you even reaching out to these people. They'll be reaching out to you.
Right. And I can attest to this firsthand. There's a few of my advisor clients that have, when I came on board as their outsourced digital marketing partner, they had already had some existing relationships with journalists, even nationally, not even just locally. And they'll reach out from us from time to time and say, "Hey, you got anything else on executive comp, or you have anything else on this?" And so we'll say, "Yeah, we'll put something together for them." So that does actually happen. It is real life. It's just like having, a friendly relationship with anybody else in business. You help each other out and it can work really well. There was one question that came up. Oh, okay. Here's a very specific one for you, Mickie. Any email subject line tips when you're reaching out to journalists that you don't know yet? Is there anything in particular we should be putting in our email subject line for our pitch? Should we
I
put pitch colon and then what it
No,
is?
I
Or
wouldn't put pitch. I would just say, uh, you know, if you're a local financial advisor, just say local financial advisor with a scoop, or who wants to share a hot tip or something like
okay.
that, and just something like that where they can easily say, "Oh, this is a local business and they're providing me with a useful tidbit." You don't have to put what the tidbit is in the subject message. When it
Okay.
comes to sending out press releases, I think that's important for journalists that are just getting emailed press releases to have the headline in it. But I don't think you need that for a pitch that you're doing. You could just be a local introduction of, uh, XYZ financial services or something like that. Just experiment, look at what you're comfortable with, and look at what kind of results you get, how many people respond or reply. And when you don't get a reply, don't take it personal. Don't feel like, "Oh, this doesn't work," or "They hate me, so I'm not going to send anymore." Just, you know, chalk it up, and next quarter send out another thing, and you will find that they will hit reply eventually when you engage with them with an idea that they feel is interesting. And another thing that I find really works is approach in early to mid December, sending them top 10 forecast or predictions, financial predictions for the coming year. That's a great way to build that out as a little bit of copy and paste content that they could just copy and paste and share in a little section in their paper or magazine. And that's a really great way to stand out, to have this ready-made content for them, and get out there as an expert, because they're going to want to, put who you are and the firm that you work with.
That is a great tip. Mickie, you have really enlightened a lot of our audience today. I am sure this is something that is a very highly, coveted sort of strategy in our industry, but I think a lot of people don't know how to approach it, not only just because they don't feel confident writing themselves, but they don't know how to go about getting actually published once they've written something that they feel is worthy of sharing. So I know that this is going to be an incredible episode for all the listeners. And listeners, there you have it. You've got multiple solutions here. You've got tips for how to go do this on your own. You've got an idea that you can send out now, or at the end of this year, top 10 tips to get your, feet wet and see how it goes. Or you've got a done for you solution. You can work with Mickie. And he can help you with strategy and writing and releasing and the whole shebang. So really, if this is something that interests you, you have a lot of options. There's plenty of people here to help. Mickie,
I did want to mention one thing real quick.
Yeah.
I have a free masterclass that is a 1 hour video training that's easy for people who are just looking at PR and considering it. It goes into a deep dive of the strategic types of releases you should be considering. And it's completely free at eReleases.com/plan, PLAN. Should be easy for financial advisors to get to. So check it out. Great place to take an audit of your practice and determine if PR might be relevant for you.
And where else can they connect with you, Mickie, online?
So eReleases has all my, eReleases.com has all my social media on the lower right. It's my personal LinkedIn. That's probably the only social media that I really understand very well. I have other people handling the rest, but that's a great place to introduce yourself and talk with me and learn a little bit more.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mickie, again for being here. This was an amazing episode. I learned a lot, and I know that our listeners will too. And as always, you guys know where to find me. I also spend a lot of time on LinkedIn on my personal page under Olivia Luper, my website, www.lexiconadvisormarketing.com. We're also on Instagram and YouTube, so you can watch all of our Get Advisor Fit podcast episodes there, or listen on your favorite streaming platforms. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share with your friends, and be back next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Get Advisor Fit with Olivia Luper. To learn more about Olivia and how her firm, Lexicon Content Development, can help you, visit lexiconcontentdevelopment.com. If you want to reach out to Olivia on LinkedIn, you can find her at Olivia Luper Lexicon. And if you'd like to follow Olivia on Instagram, you can find her at Lexicon Content Development. Till next time.